We're back with our 2024 lead in our exclusive interview with former Republican presidential candidate Nikki Haley. The panel is here. Matt, let me start with you. So let's start with her explanation for why she's standing behind Trump. She did not take back any of the things that she said, many of which I read to her about him being unhinged and on and on and on. But she basically said, I agree with a lot of his positions.
Right. And look, I think what Ambassador Haley was doing was probably giving voice to what a lot of folks who are going to vote for Donald Trump believe, right? They may say, well, I really don't like the style. I don't like the personality. But guess what? This is a singular choice right now between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. What kind of policies do I want? What kind of vision do I want? What kind of country do I want? And there's going to be a lot of voters who say, I don't necessarily love everything Donald Trump's going to do, but I agree with him more than Kamala Harris. And I think actually the Trump campaign is really benefiting from having someone like Ambassador Haley, who clearly, as she doubled down essentially on some of the comments she made about Donald Trump, out there saying it's okay. There's a permission structure to say you may not like him personally, but I still need to vote for him because I just can't accept what Kamala Harris will do as president.
Something else she didn't take back, her prediction that if you nominate Donald Trump, you're going to get President Harris, or whichever party fires their 80-year-old first wins. She didn't take either of those back.
Right. I think, though, the Democrats have now set a precedent, right? They've taken their presidential candidate off the ticket. I am not kidding. There's a non-zero chance the Republicans take their vice presidential candidate off the ticket.
J.D. Vance?
You hide and watch, Jake. Hide and watch. It's a burden always being right, and to be able to see the future as clearly as I can. He's been a dud. He's the first vice presidential nominee of either party since 1980 to begin underwater in his approval ratings. And he's not good on this stuff. Trump, I don't like Trump, but he's really charismatic and he's a great performer at rallies. And JD so far is just dull. This is a woman campaigning to get on a ticket. You watch. This year, you watch. What a different race we would have, by the way, if Trump had put Nikki Haley on the ticket instead of JD Vance, who is a bridge to a lot of voters who Democrats want to get.
Say that.
You're talking crazy talk.
Okay.
All right, we'll see.
Trump is not good with long relationships, Jake, and he's not going to hang in there with JD.
Kylie.
Yes.
So Governor Haley, in 30 years, will be Joe Biden's age now. She has a lot of time if she wants to run for anything, including president. You covered her. It's hard to imagine that she said she's not ruling it out, but she didn't seem eager to do it. But it's hard to imagine her not running again.
Okay, so if she has 30 years, that's like, what, 6 potential times that she could run for president, and she's still the same age as Biden. I mean, she is trying to keep the door open in every way that she knows. And, never say never is basically saying, I would think about it. This is typical Nikki Haley. She likes to maintain political space, and there's a reason for it, because I do think that, the future of the party, there are questions about it after a potential Trump second term. And if she can maintain some legitimacy, stay in the spotlight in some way, shape, or form, then she could have a political future. It's just a question of how she does that.
Yeah.
We don't know what that looks like right now.
I would just say, I served in the State Department with Ambassador Haley. I campaigned alongside Ambassador Haley in New Hampshire during my own congressional race. I've seen voters respond to her. And I do think she has an opportunity in the future to run if she chooses to. Even, I don't agree with Paul. I think, J.D. Vance is going to stay on the ticket. He's probably going to be the next vice president of the United States. And clearly that will make him a front runner in 4 years. But there's still going to be a lot of the party, not to mention the independents who can vote in many of these primaries, who are going to say, we want something different. They appreciate what Ambassador Haley brought to this race this year. They're going to continue to actually appreciate the voice that she brings for some of those more traditional conservative principles as compared to more of the populism we'll see from J.D. Vance.
To be able to take the incoming that Mr. Trump hurled on her, invective, just vicious, as you pointed out, attacked her husband's military service, and then to smile and endorse him. Sometimes in politics you have to rise above principle, and I think that's what we saw there. And it's because she's ambitious. I don't hold that against her. I like ambition, and I like politicians. Period. But Mo Udall, who was a Democrat, ran for president in 1976, once said the only cure for presidential fever is embalming fluid. And I hope she does run. She does have an enormous amount of talent.
Yeah.
I think she's good for the country, and she's good for the Republican Party.
Is she in step with the Republican Party right now?
Trying to get there, isn't she?
Yeah.
I mean, I actually was shocked she went so far for Trump to endorse him at all. Yeah. Maybe strategically right, but it sure, I couldn't do it. Okay, I couldn't do it. Ted Cruz did either. He endorsed Trump after Cruz mocked. I mean, Mr. Trump mocked Mrs. Cruz and said his father was complicit in the Kennedys.
Yeah.
I mean, the people who go for Trump after Trump dumps on them are really a special breed.
And I just wanted to say, she went after Kamala Harris. She was very critical of Kamala Harris for Vice President Harris, but in a way that is within the confines of politics, criticizing her for the border, criticizing her for the Biden-Harris record, basically for Biden's record, and also saying that the criticism of Harris for being black, for being a woman is not just, she said it's not helpful, and the American people are smarter than that.
That's right. I mean, she wants to, she's a Republican, and she has always stood for Republican values, and she wants to make sure that the competition is focused on that. It's focused on where they stand on the issues and not focused on, ridiculous things like DEI claims that we've heard from some members of their party. I also think it'll be interesting to see, with Harris at the top of the Democratic ticket, if the Democrats actually pick up more steam from female voters, and if that potentially prompts the Trump team to say, maybe we need Nikki Haley at this moment a little bit more than we thought we did, over the summer when we had her at the RNC, but we weren't really engaging her. She said there are no plans for her.
She said there are no plans, which seems like a missed opportunity from the Trump team to not say, we would love to have you in the suburbs of Philadelphia, in the suburbs of
Oakland
Milwaukee.
County, Michigan,
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, and look, if they're smart, they're going to put her in Chester County, Pennsylvania, Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. They're going to put her in Oakland County, Michigan, where these are a number of the suburban women, largely, who are open to maybe voting for Donald Trump after they learn of Kamala Harris.
Well, if they get the permission structure that you talked about, but
from someone like Nikki Haley.
Right, but J.D. Vance is not going to provide that permission structure, not successfully.
No, and that's why I think the Trump campaign, you saw the opening salvo last week by having Nikki Haley at the convention. Obviously, Ambassador Haley's putting herself out there with interviews like this. I think you might see a lot more of her on the
Senator
campaign
Vance
trail.
attacking stepmoms? Like they're not real moms?
People who haven't,
People, I mean,
Quote,
he
unquote,
is,
childless cat ladies.
believe me, he is kryptonite with suburban women, and she's very appealing.
Thanks one and all for being here.